Welcome to Chris's Storytelling Corner. This is Christopher Moldon. Today I'm going to do a movie review for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Be sure to also check out my manga review for Dawn of the Arcana Volumes 4 to 6 and my reading of Homesickness pages 7 to 10. Next week, I'll have a manga review for Dawn of the Arcana volumes 7 to 9 and a reading of Homesickness volumes or pages 11 to 15, which will finish off that short story. You can check out my author's website at www.chrismoldon.com. You can buy my first novel, a fantasy adventure called The Mustard Prince in the Convict Kingdom, for $4.99. Also, for $2.99, you can buy my short story collection, a collection of 10 short stories in the horror, fantasy, and realistic fiction genres. Check out my Twitter page and author's Facebook page. Links to all these will be provided on the description. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment to this channel if you're on YouTube, or follow, share, and comment on this channel if you're listening to this on SoundCloud. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate, review, and share this channel. So, the way that this will work is I will give a recap of everything, pretty much everything that happens on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So, spoiler warning here, I am going to pretty much spoil the whole movie. And after I give the recap, then I will give my thoughts on the characters, the story overall, maybe even just talk a little bit about the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole too, because every movie is a piece to the bigger Marvel Cinematic Universe as well. So let's get started. So Peter Quill, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Baby Groot are pretty much known as the Guardians of the Galaxy throughout the galaxy. Aisha, leader of the Sovereign race, who think they are absolutely perfect, hires the Guardians to protect valuable batteries from an interdimensional monster in exchange for Nebula, actually, who was actually caught by the Sovereign for trying to steal those batteries. They defeat the monster in a pretty funny sequence, actually, and Rocket goes and steals some for himself. So as they're flying out, um, the Sovereign attacks the Guardian ship with a fleet of drones. I have to say before this, actually, I forgot to mention, they meet up with the Sovereign Queen, Aisha. Aisha actually strongly implies that she wants to have kids with Star-Lord, and can tell that he is not just human, that he is human and something else. So that's good. That goes on as well. So the drones attack the Guardians' ship, but they're destroyed by this mysterious person. However, their ship gets highly damaged and they're forced to crash land on the nearby planet. The person goes and flies down to where Quill is, and it turns out that this is Peter Quill's father, Ego, who invites Quill, and he's accompanied by Gamora and Drax to Ego's home, while Rocket and Groot remain behind to repair the ship and guard Nebula. So as this is happening, Aisha hires Yondu and his crew. Yondu has been exiled by the Ravager community because he actually did a lot of child trafficking, and Aisha hires Yondu and his crew to recapture the Guardians. So they go, they capture Rocket, but Yondu shows some reluctance to really get Quill, so his lieutenant Taserface pretty much leads his mutiny and to go against Yondu, and then Yondu ends up getting shot by Nebula in the head, and Rocket gets shot as well by Nebula. So Taserface imprisons Rocket and Yondu aboard Yondu's ship, and all of like Yondu's men that are loyal to him get thrown out into space, and they get killed. Um, while Nebula at this time gets a ship from them and leaves to track down and kill Gamora. It turns out that Nebula blames Gamora for all the torture inflicted on her by their father Thanos. So Thanos would have Nebula and Gamora duel against each other. Whoever loses in the duel, they would get a part of them, I guess, removed and replaced by like some sort of mechanical part. And Gamora always won, so Nebula like is a lot of her body is mechanical at this point because of that. So while imprisoned, Rocket and Yondu pretty much bond together. They see Baby Groot, who was also, I guess, picked on, I guess is the best word, by Taserface's men because they want him to be a mascot. So they see Baby Groot, and with Yondu's last loyalist, Kraglin, Yondu and Rocket get freed. They destroy the ship and escape. However, before the ship gets destroyed, Taserface tips off the Sovereign Fleet, and a lot of people make fun of the name Taserface. So, back with Ego, we go to his planet. Ego explains that he is one of the godlike Celestials, and in the Marvel universe, like comic universe, he is a cosmic being, so he's not like a mutant, and his power actually rivals that of Galactus. Actually, he actually has some history, Galactus, but obviously in this universe, that's not mentioned, and he doesn't have rockets attached to him, like in the comics. So just a little side story there. So they're on Ego's planet, and the planet itself is Ego. Um, so he apparently projected a human guise to travel the universe and interact with other species. And he met with and fell in love with Quill's mother, Meredith. Ego paid Yondu to collect Quill when he was young after Meredith's death, but he was never delivered to Ego, and Ego has been searching for his son ever since. He teaches Quill to manipulate their celestial powers. And then Nebula arrives at the planet and tries to kill Gamora, but she fails, and they enter this underground caverns full of skeletons. They make some sort of an alliance seeing these like skeletons. So back with Ego and Quill, Ego reveals that in his travels he planted these seedlings on like thousands of worlds, and they can terraform into new extensions of himself, but they can only be activated by the combined power of two Celestials. So apparently he impregnated a lot of women and hired Yondu collect these children, but they all failed to be able to use the celestial power, so Ego killed them until he found Quill. And those skeletons are the children. So Ego then uses Quill to attack or activate the seedlings, and they begin to consume pretty much every world. Quill is also hypnotized by his father, but he fights back after Ego reveals that he caused Meredith's death by implanting a tumor into her brain, which gave her the brain cancer that killed her. Apparently, his love for her distracted him from his purpose, and that was a big thing with Ego, that he needed a purpose. So Ego has this pet empath named Mantis, who pretty much grows close to Drax and warns him, Gamora, and Nebula of Ego's plan. Pretty much at the same time as Rocket, Yondu, Baby Groot, and Kraglin arrive. So the Guardians are reunited and they reach a core of the planet where Ego's brain is in. It's pretty much housed there. And at the same time, sovereign drones arrive to attack the Guardians of the Galaxy. Rocket makes a bomb out of the stolen batteries that Groot is supposed to plant onto Ego's brain because the tunnels that lead to Ego's brain are so small. While this happens, Peter Quill fights against Ego and uses his newfound celestial powers to help the Guardians escape. So Groot plants a bomb. The Guardians have escaped the planet and are in the process of fleeing. The bomb explodes. It kills Ego and causes the planet to disintegrate. Yondu sacrifices himself to save Quill. So what happened was that Rocket gave Yondu, I guess it's like this kind of suit thing that allows a person to survive in space, like breathe in space and whatnot, and protect them from the extreme cold. And he also gave him a thing that'll help him fly. So he gives Yondu flies holding Quill into space, and then he gives Quill the suit that lets him survive in space, pretty much. Yondu pretty much says that Ego may have been his father, but Yondu is his daddy. So it kind of explains Yondu's connection with Quill, which was pretty much father-son. So Quill gets saved. So afterwards, we see that Gamora and Nebula have reconciled, but Nebula goes out to try and kill Thanos. The Guardians then hold a funeral for Yondu, but a bunch of Ravager ships come and kind of become a part of the celebration. Or it's not celebration, but the funeral. And they pretty much accept him again as a Ravager because of Yondu due to child trafficking. He was not accepted with the Ravagers. And the main movie ends there. So we see a bunch of series mid and post credit scenes. We see Kraglin taking up Yondu's telekinetic arrow and control fin, and testing it out, he accidentally shoots or stabs Drax. We see Ravager leader Stakar Ogord, who I read on Wikipedia, he becomes Starhawk, if I'm not mistaken. He's played by Sylvester Stallone. He reunites with his ex-teammates. You see Groot starting to grow back to normal size, but at this point, he's a teenager, and he just has teenager behavior at this point. So he's rebellious, doesn't want to do anything and whatnot. And one of the big things that happens is Aisha creates a new artificial being with whom she plans to destroy the Guardians, naming him Adam. Now, if I am to reckon a guess who Adam is, I would assume it's Adam Warlock, because he is, in the comics, Adam Warlock's a big part of the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity Wars. So, I'm going to strongly assume that's Adam Warlock. Could be wrong, but I think it makes sense. And I heard rumors that he's supposed to be a part of Marvel Cinematic Universe anyways. And we see this astronaut. We saw him before, but we see him at the end, played by Stan Lee, talking to a bunch of watchers who aren't interested in what he's saying. So, some thoughts. I watched this on IMAX 3D. It was awesome to watch this on IMAX 3D. The sense of scope and scale of the world that the Guardians inhabit whether it's Ego's world or somewhere else or space or whatnot, is amplified and really apparent on IMAX, on like IMAX, because you see like a small Gamora and like the world, and just like this horizon. I mean, you can tell that the world they're in is just huge, you know. So I thought that was cool. IMAX 3D, great experience. Got to pay a little extra, but I thought for a movie like this, it actually does enhance the experience. So a couple of the characters, Peter Quill, Star Lord. You know, we now know he's the son of Ego. Actually, don't know if that's actually true in the comics. I'm not actually too familiar with the Guardians of the Galaxy comics. Um, he had a lot going on here. He had the stuff going on with Ego, a lot of relationship stuff, uh, whether it's friend, family, or romantic, was going on with Peter Quill. So you know he had a thing with Ego, where you know he's the father that returned that was never there to play catch with them. And in the beginning, Ego was pretty much that father figure. And then later on, when he found out what Ego was doing, you know, he became the enemy. He always seemed a bit conflicted there. And then by the end, Yondu, you know, Peter Quill kind of realized that Yondu was the father that he was searching for the whole time. So it is pretty sad because at the end of the movie, Peter Quill pretty much lost both of his fathers. Um, he also had like this real. He had some conflict with Rocket, uh, because part of it, a lot of it was just more Rocket not wanting to get people close to him. It seemed like, and because it's like, man, Rocket doesn't have too many friends, and Quill, you know, is his buddy, but he always wants to keep his friends not too close, not let him in too much. And so throughout the whole movie, you kind of see this like Rocket Quill thing where they're insulting each other, they're competing against each other, and Rocket just being really mean to him. I mean, by the end though, they pretty much just go back to their original relationship with their friends. You also saw Quill and uh, Gamora. They're, they keep teasing this love thing between the two, but like, and they pretty much say it that it's like the unsaid thing. uh, and that was just pretty much what was going on with Peter Quill and Gamora, where it's just like, okay, he likes her, she more than likely likes him, but they never get to that point where like they're going to be in some sort of romantic relationship. Um, Maybe in the next one. Who knows? Speaking of Gamora, she had a good role here. She had a lot to do more with Nebula than anyone else. They have an interesting sister dynamic here, where like Nebula just wants to kill Gamora, but like by mid movie they have an alliance together, and by the end of the movie they've like reconciled, and Nebula just wanted a sister. Gamora wanted, to win, and that's what it seemed like. But then it turned out that Gamora just didn't want to lose because she would be, a part of her would be taken away. So they had a pretty interesting dynamic there. And speaking of Nebula too, well, you know what I liked about this movie a lot? They have a lot of characters in the Guardians of the Galaxy universe right now, but the whole movie, the majority of the movie takes place on Ego. And so you're only relegated to what, like, I don't know, six characters, maybe eight characters, well, throughout the beginning of the movie, it's like Ego, Quill, Gamora, Drax, and Mantis are just the only ones on the planet. So it's pretty lonely, and actually goes back with Ego and his like loneliness. It's actually, there's a scene where Gamora's just kind of sitting there looking at the horizon. So, and then the other Guardians appear, but there aren't actually like that many characters per se. I mean, there's like Taserface and whatnot. There's a lot of characters, but like that don't stick around for like long periods of time. So the point I'm just trying to make is that like you really got they really got a good chance to kind of develop these characters, which I really liked. Like Nebula and Yondu actually got some pretty good character development because of this, because they focused on, I don't know, geez, I can do the math. I don't know why I'm not like 10 characters or so. And there's other characters, Aisha and like some of the other Sovereign are there. Some of Yandi's crew, but for the most part, they focus on this many characters, and they're in Ego's world, and so Nebula actually gets a really good backstory and whatnot. Nebula is going to be interesting because, it goes to the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe, because there's the world of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a part of the world of the greater Cinematic Universe, and Nebula wants to fight Thanos. Well, we can strongly assume that the villain of Infinity War is gonna be Thanos. So, like, you already have that. I mean, they've already had that connection since the first one with the Infinity Stone, anyways. Um, but yeah, you have that going on. So I can expect to see Nebula trying to attack Thanos or something in like Infinity War or something like that. Um, the other character got some, like I mentioned, that got some development was Yondu. You know, he was cool. I always liked Yondu. I liked Yondu in the first one. Like he was just this like funny guy. He was kind of funny, funny but threatening, and he kind of had that here too. But he was kind of like they also made him the exiled man. And also by the end of the movie, the father figure, and then like by the funeral, it, he was like revered, in a sense, like not revered, but brought back into the fold of the Ravagers, and in a sense, like celebrated. So he got a lot of character development. It's pretty, it's sad that he died, but at the same time, it's like moving forward, I don't know what he's gonna do if they kept him, because like Nebula seems like she's kind of a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy now. Mantis looks like she's a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy now. It's like you're gonna add so many more characters into the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, what can he really do? You know. Um, so it's sad though that he died nonetheless. We got introduced to Mantis. She got a thing going on with Drax. Drax seems to like her on the inside, finds her ugly on the outside. Um, she's kind of a comic relief character, but her powers did come into play as she can like put Ego to sleep and whatnot. Um, I'm curious to see what happens with her next. She seems like very childlike, doesn't know much about the world, obviously, or the universe, obviously, and they really play up on that really well. Um, Drax was really funny here. I mean, he laughed a lot. He laughed quite a bit in this movie. Um, he played more of a comical character. I mean, he was kind of comical in the first one, but he was also kind of like the heavy of the group. He still is kind of was the heavy of the group this time around, but he was also just kind of a nutcase at the same time, where it's just like, he ties himself to this like cable rope, as the ship is flying, and starts shooting at like one of the drones, and as this is happening, as they're crash landing, he's still there, and he's just laughing the whole time, you know. So he kind of became a bit psychotic, even uh, this time around. But I thought he did a really good performance. He was really funny, and just every time he was on, I laughed. Um, Other characters that came in play, Rocket. He had I mentioned that he had this love hate thing going on with Peter Quill, but also he kind of bonded with Yondu because Yondu knew it's like, hey man, you were thrown away, you're just some sort of experiment. Well, Yondu's like, hey, my parents threw me away too. Like I know what you're going through. So they bonded quite a bit. They both have this like, I'm cool, but like I can't let anyone get too close to me type thing. Rocket also very mischievous. He's extremely mischievous, capable, a talker, but also got under a lot of his comrades' skins. But by the end of the movie, everything was all well and good there. Baby Groot, definitely like a mascot character, very much comedy relief or comic relief. Um, it seems like he's gonna be like an adolescent now, teen type. Uh, he played his role well. Like he's just really funny. He's just not very smart, but like ultimately he was the difference maker between them living or winning and losing. So he played a very important role there. Ego. Like I said, I'm not really too familiar with the Guardians comics. I know that Ego's appeared in like Fantastic Four. I know he's fought against Galactus to pretty much a draw, and then Galactus like implants these rockets on Ego, so he just kind of floats around aimlessly in the galaxy or in the universe. Obviously, that's not the case here. They killed Ego, which is uh, pretty crazy to kill a cosmic being of that power. Um, in the Marvel universe, but obviously they're not going to follow the comic books. Um, but at first, he's played by Kurt Russell. At first, he seemed like a good guy, and then you know, it was kind of cool because they make you think, hey, is the Sovereign the bad guy of this movie? But Mantis kind of gave some hints, and then when they went to the cavern, they strongly gave some hints that something was wrong with Ego. And it turned out that Ego was pretty much the main bad guy here. I also got introduced to the Sovereign race. Just thought they were perfect. If they feel slighted in any way, they want to get revenge. I think that overall, though, the big thing with the Sovereign race was I think it was more of a mid-credit scene with Aisha presenting Adam to everyone. And like I said, I think that's Adam Warlock, who is one of the strongest in the Marvel Cinematic or the Marvel Universe. I think he dies actually, if I'm not mistaken, because he's a Marvel legend, if I'm not mistaken. He's fought Thanos and whatnot. So I'm very curious to see what they do with Adam, and if it is indeed Adam Warlock, then they got a very powerful person. But Adam Warlock's supposed to be a good guy, so huh? Well, maybe I gotta recheck my reread my Marvel comic stuff or re-research it because I could have sworn he was a good guy. Um, well, anyways, I the thing with these movies too is that they always have stuff that in the post credits, mid credit, post credit that like they'll show stuff within the it, the movie's own universe, so the Guardians' own universe. So Groot's growing up, you get to see Stallone's character, get together with the other Ravagers. They're gonna do their own thing, and that seems more directed to like the next Guardians of the Galaxy. The stuff with Adam seems like it has more to do with the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe. Um, you see that with every Marvel movie. They dealt with the Infinity Stone, which which what are they called? Neocore, Nextcore, uh, which is pretty much housed in that one planet whose name I absolutely forgot at this point. Um, so that obviously with Thanos trying to get the Infinity Stones, and that involves the Guardians. You have Adam, and if he's Adam Warlock, that might play a bigger thing if he fights against Thanos or whatnot. That might be a greater thing in the Marvel universe. I don't know. I just don't know how they're going to play Adam in here and whatnot. So, um, and that to me is what's kind of amazing about the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe in itself. It's kind of like, they have an idea for their own universe, but it's always a piece of like the greater scheme of things. So I always found that pretty incredible, actually, that they can think this far ahead as far as Marvel goes, and that's probably one reason out of many why these Marvel movies are still highly popular, highly profitable, and highly liked as well. So that's all for today. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment to this channel if you're on YouTube, or follow, share, and comment on this channel if you're listening to this on SoundCloud. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate, review, and share this channel. Thank you for listening to this movie review. Next week, I'll review Dawn of the Arcana, Volumes 7 to 9, and have a story reading of Homesickness, pages 11 to 15. Thank you, and until next time.